Gentlemen, welcome back to the Zyori Podcast. It is August 6th, 9:30 a.m. here, Mountain Time, bright and early for our special guest today. We've got Brennan Hook with us. He's an Overwatch League caster, fresh off the first season that just ended with a pretty successful grand finals. Big audience, big hype, some big numbers as well. We're going to talk all about that. We're going to talk about TI a little bit on this episode. The invites just came out. It's a big year for Trent Packs, and we're going to talk about what it feels like to be going to Van City as the only Canadian caster, I think, invited this year to the International. So congratulations, first and foremost, my friend.
Wow. Thank you. Yes, just representing my country the size of California. Thank you. I do what I can.
But,
no problem.
Yeah, always a stressful time of year. I guess, Bren, you dabbled your foot in Dota casting, I guess, for those that haven't really heard of you. And then right as you were really committing full-time to the esports space, Overwatch was starting to pick up momentum, and that ended up being your baby. We actually first met when you were here in Denver doing the Contenders League, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I was always a fan of Dota. I still am a fan of Dota. I'm actually dumb hype for TI this year. Like now that the Overwatch League is over, like we got nothing going on until All Stars, which for some reason they've decided to schedule the Overwatch All Stars event at the same time as the TI finals. Don't know why they've done that.
Oh no.
But I don't know if it's at the same time slot. That's the thing. So I might be able to still watch both and still take part in both. But I am dumb hype for TI. I got nothing to do for like 5 months now, so I'm just gonna be watching Dota all day.
Perfect.
It's gonna be great.
All right. Yeah, it
Correct
sounds
answer.
Good. So let's talk about Overwatch a little bit first and foremost. I think broad strokes, Trent, it was a pretty good season. I was definitely very cynical out of the gate. Would they hold up the numbers? Would this whole franchise system work? Would it be exciting to watch? Would the finals be an event we remember for good reasons or for bad reasons? And it seems like it's hit most of the tick boxes. Certainly not perfect, but considering how massive this thing is, a complete global phenomenon, you've got every edge of the spectrum. You've got the Shanghai Dragons, the complete underdogs coming into season 2. And you've got the London Spitfire, the team that won the first event, and now they've won the last event, consistently number one since this whole thing started, for the most part. I'm paraphrasing. But I guess what are your thoughts here, man? How do you feel about the season at large? Did it live up to the expectation?
Blown away, honestly. My expectations were low coming into it. I wasn't expecting the viewership that we got. I was expecting like 50K concurrently. I would have been happy with 50K concurrently. The fact that we managed like 100 is madness, honestly. I wasn't expecting it to be that popular. We did some things well. We did some things absolutely atrociously. DJ Khaled, I'm not gonna talk about that too much. But we also there's the thing that I love most about the Overwatch League is that everyone that I'm working alongside is striving to improve the product. Even now, even though the first season is said and done, and we weren't scared to change things in the middle of the season as well. Like the run of show, the format of it, the way we wanted to formulate it. We were willing to change absolutely everything from like the direction we wanted to take it in terms of how deep we wanted to go in terms of analysis and things. It was honestly opened my eyes as well to a completely different side of esports, because before that I was a bedroom caster, you do an online broadcast for like Dota, or I started out in TF2 and Dota and Overwatch as well, but there weren't as many events in Overwatch. and then this Overwatch League gig kind of just opened my eyes to the whole TV side of production, and now essentially I've done so many bloody story meetings that now I know I could walk into any production and formulate just essentially work out a run a show, how to run it, what we got to do to get this ball rolling, and how to put on a good show. So it's equipped me with a lot of skills now that I could happily God forbid if they don't use me for season 2, I know I'm golden. They've sorted me out.
It's kind of unbelievable, because Overwatch is the first time, at least that anyone has successfully, I would say, taken a game that it had no real esports base. I mean, it did, but this was a game that came out and was like, this will be an esports game. People will play this for esports, and there will be a league, Yeah. And there was maybe a 1 full year of kind of third-party tournaments and everything before Blizzard stepped in with their whole Overwatch League. But the viewership for the league actually surpassed all of those other third-party tournaments and everything. Not even close. And I don't know. I was definitely cynical for sure. I was hopeful because I want this to do well because it's another esport,
everyone in the esports industry wanted it to do well. Because if it failed, it would have mean fucking burning brimstone from the skies for every other esports thing. It meant bad things. So it's very good that it succeeded.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more mainstream initiatives, and it would be bad for everyone to see it fail from the general success and reaching more of those casual viewers and kind of tangential
the endemic sponsors.
Members of esports. One of the things that I was nervous about was starting new brands for every region. I remember this big divide about if you were a team like Cloud9 that had a lot of games already, you basically needed to create a whole new brand that was dedicated to just Overwatch. And I thought that was potentially a big mistake when they announced that, because that's a really scary thing to do. And my reaction was, well, now why do I care about any of these teams? I watched a couple nights of OWL. There's all these different teams, all these different regions. Even within the regions, all the players are from different countries or different locations. I don't feel attached to any of these. Why would I care about London Spitfire?
You didn't care about the Philadelphia Fusion? You're from Philly. Well, you're supposed to cheer for them.
I guess.
That's the point.
Maybe it's just because Fusion is a lame name. I didn't want to get behind that. The Philadelphia Fusion, baby. We're fusing cultures together. I mean, what is that? What are you doing?
I'll tell you this one for free. The Fusion guys are fucking amazing. Like, that's the one team, and they've bribed me. This is the reason I'm saying this is because they bribed me. I regularly go over to their little mansion, and they've got their own personal chef, and they feed me, and I drink beer, and I go in their pool. So the Philadelphia Fusion, they're great.
All right. Well, we need to
get your ass over here, mate.
Are they associated with a sports team, or are they standalone?
They're owned by Comcast.
Oh, okay.
So if Comcast own a sports team, yes, but otherwise, I think the Flyers, Philadelphia Flyers.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's the hockey team.
Yes. The hockey.
But very cool. So I do want to ask about DJ Khaled, because we have a tangential experience. We had Deadmau5 at TI.
Yep.
What was that? 5, 6?
5.
Yep, 5. I was there. I was in the audience. I remember clapping along to Deadmau5 as if that's what you do at like a dubstep electronica concert. It's not. That's the only time that's ever happened in a Deadmau5 crowd, where everyone's just clapping to the beat. Just, wow, this bass is really cool. Wow, like, let's all bop our heads at the same time. Maybe the only time Deadmau5 has played to a completely sober audience. I think that also might have been part of the problem. Was Khaled, was that a surprise?
Yes.
Okay. I think the surprise factor is part of the issue.
I can tell you that. Right. Okay. So firstly, I can tell you that in person, it was actually pretty hype. Like, I'm not trying to like save face here for the league or whatever, but we were getting into it. Like, with the guy I work with on the desk sideshow, he was so confused as the whole thing, because he's like an old man in a young person's body, so he was just laughing the whole entire time. But I was getting into it because he was essentially just like a hype man. He was just playing a bunch of music, and he was taking the piss out of himself as well, which I do like. There was a couple of moments where he's like, "Yo, let me do that dance that Drake does," and then he just like wiggle his feet around, and he'd be like, "Oh, I forgot that dance. I forgot I didn't know that dance." And then he'd move on to the next thing. And like in the actual arena, people were getting into it. Like, everyone around us was getting into it, with the exception of like a couple of people, because obviously there's a massive difference in terms of the demographic and who they appeal to. But online, I watched the online broadcast. I watched the online broadcast at the desk, because we had the program feed at the desk of what the Twitch stream was going to be seeing, and my God, it looked atrocious. Holy shit, it looked awful. I was watching that, and I was like, the camera operators did a solid job of making it seem like nobody was getting into it. They did a fucking amazing job, because DJ Khaled was probably getting into it. He was like, this awful dance move, just like, again, wiggling on himself all over the stage, and then they just cut to a shot of like a 10-year-old child just confused, crying in the crowd, and I was just like, that's intentional. That's completely intentional. They did that entirely on purpose. But it was definitely, it was brilliant. It was fun, and I would not get him for next year.
Fair.
I wonder how much you think they paid for that gig. Because we looked into getting DMX at Midas Mode, and it was a $500K entry point. They wouldn't respond to your email unless you could prove you had at least $500K to spend on a DMX performance.
DMX?
Yeah, that's like the blanket policy for the agency that represents him. So that's the entry point. It only goes up from there depending on
how disappointing
where and what. So, I mean, do you think is Khaled on the DMX level? I'm not sure.
I think he's above.
I think he's above it.
And I think he's a cool kid, dude.
But the thing is, here's the rumors. Okay, I'm giving you the leaks now.
The scoop.
As I said, I'm going to give you the leaks. I was like, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. He was like a last minute thing. I don't think they wanted to get DJ Khaled. I think he was a last minute thing because it was the middle of the summer. It was the middle of the summer. A lot of people weren't really free at the time. I was forgetting the word free for a second. Yeah, so it's the middle of the summer. A lot of people booked up. In fact, he had to go to an event later that day. So like he was a super last minute thing. So I think they struggled to get a performance in time, which is the reason why.
That makes sense. One time when I was at PAX East, I was at an after party that Riot threw, and the Crystal Method played. That was pretty sick. Riot's got a good track record with bands like that. What was it? Imagine Dragons? Was that the other one they did at one of their finals? That was pretty hype. That was actually it's fitting, you know. It's like the right kind of metal that's like unoffensive, but it's upbeat, and you listen to it in the stadium, and you're like, League of Legends, I love it. And
Blizzard usually do it all right, honestly. Like when you go to BlizzCon and stuff. Like I've only been to one BlizzCon, but the one time I did go, they had Muse playing.
Wow,
okay,
that's pretty cool.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, actually, Blizzard has done some interesting stuff. At the end of BlizzCon, there's always a concert. I know that they had Ozzy one year. They had Blink-182 one year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the
Weird
others.
Al Yankovic.
They had Weird Al.
Yeah, they had Weird Al.
That's good, though. Weird Al's legit, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what about these expansion teams? 3 new teams supposed to be added to the Overwatch League?
2 I can only speak of.
2?
Only 2 confirmed.
2
Atlanta and Yangzhou. I'm going to fucking butcher that on the desk in Season 2, trying to pronounce that.
I forget what the third one was supposed to be. I looked it up on a...
But there are unconfirmed reports, rumors, but I can't talk about them, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's actually madness, isn't it? Because these expansion teams are they're selling them for like 30 to 60 mil now. It's kind of bonkers, considering the original was 20 mil, and people were like, 20 mil, that's a lot of money. And now
I guess that's what you can do, though.
Yeah,
the first year goes all right.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm doing for Season 2? Your boy's going to be asking for double pay, you know? So I'm coming in there like slamming it thick and veiny, boom, on the desk. Hello, my name's Brennan. You need me for Season 1. You needed me for Season 2. Let's go. Let's start a negotiation. $1 million per year.
Perfect.
That's a lie. I'm not actually on.
Now, that's not where you were coming into the league, though, right? I mean, this is like what has your growth been like this year in terms of you as a talent?
Fucking crazy. Dude.
Like, it's insane, right? Because I just opened up your Twitter, and I believe you now have 18.3K followers, my dude.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Where were you at the start of this year? Like
2,
3, 4, 5K?
2K.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's like, it's unreal growth. I got the amount of Twitter followers. I get like 2K a month on average.
Wow.
Mad.
That's awesome, dude.
Madness. And it's weird as well because they're not the traditional esports audience. They're not.
That's true.
It's actually, this is what Overwatch League has done. It's brought in the mainstream people who never really watched esports before.
Yeah.
So all of my followers, this is their first esports game, and they're so overwhelmingly positive. It honestly, it kills me.
God.
They're so positive. I never get any negative comments. It's only people saying like, I really like you. You're my favorite personality. And I'm like, oh, you sweet summer child. Because in other scenes, I look at the other talent in the other scenes, and I look at the Twitter timelines and feeds, and it's just like people are like, you piece of shit. And I'm like, oh God, yeah. I don't want to go near it. You know?
I think mine's actually been a lot better recently. I feel like there's only a couple people. There's our one consistent friend that sends a lot of negativity my way, but outside of that, everyone else is pretty neutral or positive or just responding to whatever the context of the conversation is. But goddamn, you've got some pretty sick Twitter stats there, right? Average 11 retweets for your lifetime tweets. That's pretty impressive, dude.
I didn't know that. That's probably because I paid for followers.
Look at you.
That'll
social media machine. It does wonders. Wow.
But what else was I gonna say? No, but like I'm not used to the negative tweets. So you notice when you announced this podcast was coming out, some dude responded was like, "What the fuck you getting this Blizzard shill boy on?" And I had just woken up and read that tweet, and I was just like, "Fuck you, cunt!" I was like, "Listen here." I started tweeting at him like, "Shut the fuck up, you little melt of a human being." And he came back at me, and then I was just like, "I can't be dealing with this. I'm gonna block him." So I can't be trusted with social media.
I want to hire you to coach me in British insults. I think I need you. Melt of a human.
Melt is such a good word to use for people. Because you can imagine like the people who are atting you on Twitter, they are just melted, just little melts of human. Just like they can't stand up. They don't have a spine. Just melts of human beings.
No,
perfect.
I know exactly who you're talking about. That guy, he tweets at me literally every day.
What a waste of space.
And I just, I think he's European, so that
that explains a lot.
I'll get you. Oh yeah, speaking of which, you've been. How was your stay in LA? And
I'm still in LA,
all I ever
baby.
saw was you just like doing shit. Like I feel like when you weren't on camera, you really looked like you were taking advantage of being in LA and like kind of doing your touristy kind of thing and getting out there. Is that what it was like?
Yep, I have no money, essentially. I spent it all as soon as I got here. I was like, because I love skiing, and I never got the opportunity to go because I was always poor, and I lived in the UK, and we didn't have skiing shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm 5 hours away from a slope. I'm gonna go 3 times in this year. Like, so I went skiing a fuck ton, and I went on that road trip, which was also a bollock ton of money. But I've just been taking advantage of everything. I mean, like, when you're here, you gotta. I don't know if I'm gonna be here for season 2. I was actually expecting to get fired before this, but I didn't. So I was like, I gotta take advantage of this as much as possible. You know.
It's a good plan, but nah, dude, I'm with you. Every time I travel, I try to do something if possible. Not every event allows for it, but Trent, we need to start doing the after vacations. Like you go to an event and then you ask for the return flight 3 or 4 days later, so you get a little party time post event and hit some of the tourist sites. Like in Croatia. I mean, wait, was baby a thing when we went to Croatia?
No, Croatia would definitely have been the place to do it.
Yeah. Especially with that shitty airport, it's so far away. We should have just stayed after and just chilled on the beach, man.
True.
Croatia is
very
lovely.
nice.
We fucked up.
Beautiful place. Yeah.
Could have done that Game of Thrones tour. Isn't that what they do around there? They take you at all the filming locations.
Would have been another flight, I think, but what is it? Dubrovnik, I think is what it's called, is where they have the big, Mott knows. He was really into it. He wanted to go until he realized how far away it was from Split.
Unfortunately, we were just, in the most beautiful place in Europe, is Split, Croatia, basically. So.
Yeah. It's a tough life, dude.
I think we went outside for a total of about 2 hours. Sound about right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Croatia. Yeah. Well, Trent's bag got lost for the entire event.
Oh, yeah.
So he was not really in, like, the, quote, party mood.
Yeah. That's a classic.
He found his bag at the airport as we were leaving to board our plane to go home. That's how close it was to lose. Can you imagine if you left without your bag and it was stuck in Croatia?
Never would have seen it again.
Well, you wouldn't get it back. There's no way.
Be gone.
That's why with events these days, I just bring carry-on. I don't even bother with checked-in luggage.
I try to, but I can't always. If it's 2 weeks in China and I'm bringing 5 suits, I'm checking,
That's
dude.
hard.
I can't not.
Yeah, that's difficult, dude.
It's brutal.
You gotta get the packing knowledge down. I mean, it's been a while, but I managed to pack like 3 suits and carry on. I don't know how I did it, but
I've done it.
Yeah, I just do the one jacket carry on. The same jacket the whole event. No one's noticed yet. Don't tell anybody, guys. There's only like none of you here right now anyway. It's fine.
Are you gonna get yourself a new suit for TI?
I don't know. I'm probably just gonna buy a bunch of sport jackets or something. I'm gonna go a little shopping. I'll be looking forward.
Hell yeah!
I'm
looking forward to this TI. This is gonna be insane.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be the most competitive TI. I mean, it's easy to say, I guess, just because like we had the DPC and it feels like we have so many top teams, but I feel like there are a lot of teams.
It's also very easy to beat the last TI because I was watching those death segments and they were atrocious. they were tragic. I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah.
Someone at Valve needs a whipping.
Well, I think based on this year's talent list, it's going to be a lot better by default on that front because at least they've got a group of people that they're broadcasters first. I think that was the big issue with last year. It wasn't the knowledge gap in terms of game knowledge or experience. It was the broadcasting gap. And an event like TI, that's not just a LAN. That's like it's TV level, kind of like you're talking about.
You need the charisma.
Yeah.
You need the charisma.
And there's just a lot of pressure and a lot of big cameras and a lot of moving parts. And if you're not seasoned and you're not used to that, dude, it's hard to get out there and just be loose and be yourself and be Bulldog. But I'm actually excited to see Bulldog at TI this year.
Gonna make it, dude. They moved it to Canada for him.
I
got him in.
Is that actually the reasoning?
Yeah, no, it's got to be.
It's gotta be. The guy fucked up. The guy was like trying to walk into customs like, "Hello, I'm here to work."
Yeah. So I guess we should talk about TI a little bit. We teased at the beginning. Obviously, I didn't get invited this year, which always stinks, but it is what it is. I'm still going. I'm going to be there for a lot of it, actually. I think I'm arriving on the 17th and leaving on the 27th. So it's still a good 10 days in Vancouver. We've got the Airbnb. Dude, so every year, I know we always talk about this, but every year we do this offering. It's sort of like our Moonduck bonus, right? Moonduck books the Airbnb close to the venue, and if you want to come, you just have to pay for your flight. It's like, a 50% subsidy on the trip, so it gets people to come to the event. Every TI since Moonduck started, people have taken us up on that, and it's been no problem filling the Airbnb. This year...
Mate, I'm so disappointed I couldn't go to TI this year.
It was just me.
I would 100% be taking you. It's just you?
Well, I found some people. So it's me. It's MRP. Right, our friend from Toronto, right? Mr. P's coming, the other Canadian feller.
Excellent.
Purge's YouTube video editor, a guy named Alexander from Finland. This is his first time coming to America, I think. That'll be fun.
It's Canada.
Yeah, I think Buka is coming for part of it, but he doesn't know which days, so he'll be there for some. And the last person is that guy. I don't know if you guys even know who this is. It's the guy. His handle on Twitter is Panda Voss. He used to do work with Greg. His name is Lewis. Yeah. Little Asian guy, photographer sort. His place fell through, so it actually kind of worked out, and he's going to take the 5th final spot of the Airbnb. Bren, that could have been you, man.
I could have been me. You did, yeah. And I was like, God damn, I really wanted to go. I didn't even know if I could get a ticket, but I was so keen to go. And I was talking about this back in the start of the year to like a bunch of people I was working with, like Crumbs, like he used to be a League of Legends guy. God knows why he wants to go to a Dota event. He's probably going to get lynched, but he wanted to go. And so did Sideshow, the guy I work with on the desk. He was keen to go as well. I mean, they're not really Dota guys, but I fucking love Dota, dude. I'm literally planning on turning into a primordial slug on my sofa when TI starts, and just thinking down and just stuckling in on the sweet tea of gaming as the
it's
games
gonna be good.
run through me.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Very excited to finally get on that teat.
Hell yeah!
So it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Congrats, dude. I think.
Thank you.
One thing I want to say about this year that was a big upgrade, because this is something I had very loudly complained about in the past, and this is a good example of don't think people aren't listening, folks. Just because they don't tell you they're listening doesn't mean they're not. But this is the first year that I was actually told no by someone from Valve that I wasn't going to be invited. And every year up until this point, it was either a yes or a nothing until you basically see the announcement and go, oh, that sucks. I guess I didn't make the cut. So there's this pretty good window where, you hear rumors from other talent about who's going to be invited or who's going to be part of the show. And obviously, if you're hosting or if you're writing content, you're involved a little bit earlier than just a play-by-play caster, because you need the runway to be able to write the content to make the show work and interface with production and coordinate all those moving pieces. So you hear stuff through the grapevine as you work behind the scenes and go to other events. And, obviously some talent really know what they're talking about, and some are just sort of making stuff up, or some things become rumors and some things might change. Maybe they have a content segment planned, they're planning on inviting you, and then that segment gets cut and there's no other spot for you, right? You were considered, but you weren't just included in this year's show plan. You never knew in the past if you were being considered, if they didn't even know your name, if you should have just sent somebody an email and been like, hey, you should check out this awesome land that I cast a couple months ago. I don't know if you saw it, but did they even see the work I did? This just that no communication is scary. And this year,
it's so painful.
Yeah, it was incredible to at least get that, like, hey man, we considered you, we tried this, it didn't work. Sorry, not going to be a spot for you. Sucks, but maybe next time.
Yeah.
It sucks, but that is still 10 times better than the alternative of being stuck in limbo. So I think that alone shows some more forethought, foresight, foreskin.
The worst
than
is like you start like losing hope, but it's always there. That's the worst part. Like I remember last year, I was told, dude, you're gonna be at the Manila Major. I like 3 people had like rumors. They're like, no, I've heard like you're gonna be there, 100%. Not invited to the Manila Major. And then all these people are just like, dude, you're at TI. Like trust me, you're gonna be at TI. And I'm just like waiting, and I'm like, I don't think it's gonna happen. But you just wait. No invite to TI, and you're like, fuck me. Why do I get my hopes up every time? So similarly, it was nice to find out early.
What did you do when you found out you're invited? Did you run around the house naked?
I was actually in China, and I was pretty
Run
dumbfounded.
around China naked?
It was brought up in complete casual conversation with someone from Valve, just standing there, and we were just kind of all standing in a circle, just kind of talking about Dota, talking to shit, and just looks at me and is like, "Oh, do you want to cast at TI?" And my face is just like, yes, I would like to cast at TI. That would be great. And yeah, it was pretty funny. I was standing there with it was like me and OD Pixel, Shiva, and Cap, and just like right in front of everyone. It was like, okay, and then they just walked away.
Like, classic.
Great.
Yeah.
That really just kind of when I think of Valve, I think of interactions like that.
Yeah.
That's classic Valve right there.
Yeah, and I honestly gave up trying to really predict what Valve is going to do in terms of talent and show content a couple years ago, because the year that Annie got invited, I remember she asked me like 2 weeks before invites, what are the chances I get invited to TI this year? And I said 0%. 0. Binary 0. You've cast nothing except the qualifiers for this TI. Everyone else who's cast a TI has worked for years, if not multiple years. Like, just come on, man. Just
classic Valve.
You're good for where you're at and how much time you've put in, but there's a certain amount of time, dedication that you need. And I was completely wrong. They were like, hey, let's give her a shot. Hey, we got this new blood here. She seems pretty all right. Let's see what she can do. Fuck it. Let's invite her. And it's like, all right, I was completely wrong. I misjudged it. And I've always felt bad about that, because I couldn't have been more wrong about, it's never a binary. It's never 0. It's never 100, Who
knows what goes through the mind of Valve,
Yeah.
But
yeah, so I'm looking forward. I get there around like the 12th or something, and then I'm not sure. Do you remember when group stage starts?
That was it. Yeah, the 14th maybe, 15th.
I think that sounds about right. So yeah, can't wait. I do think it's gonna be the most competitive TI. Super excited. My mega dark horse team. I mean, I shouldn't say like crazy dark horse. My team that I think could actually win it outside of like the top 4 or 5 teams is definitely VG, Jack, Storm. Really pulling for them. I think that would be so exciting to watch Jack get up there. Imagine Jack holding the fucking agents, dude. I would lose my shit.
Yeah, that's true. I'm into Team Serenity this year. I want to see the Chinese boys, the new blood. I want to see.
Dude, they've been playing some NA pubs. Open up your Dota client at night, guys, and watch these dudes.
Oh yeah,
they're crazy. They must be in Vancouver already.
All right. Well, I'm trying to check. I want to invest in Team Serenity, dude. I'm trying to get on. I'm trying to meet him. I want an introduction.
Buy their jerseys, get your face on it.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. I'm so ignorant in Dota the last 6 months because of Overwatch. I mean, like, so invested in Overwatch, I have no idea what's been happening. Apparently, VP is still dominant. I don't know how much that's going to last, because fucking TI, God knows, is always up in the air. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen. I'm hoping for another Wings, If another Wings is going to happen, how does it happen?
Team Serenity kills it, dude.
Yeah.
They are the new
roll
Wings.
It forwards. Hell yeah. Techie's Pudge in the finals.
There you go. I don't know if they're that extreme, but I think they've got some similarities in their style, dude. It's insane.
Dude, once they picked that support Queen of Pain, that was when I was actually okay with everyone being like, okay, I guess you can maybe. It wasn't even just support Queen of Pain. Sorry, it was a Blink first Queen of Pain. She bought a Blink dagger, and I was like, all right, these guys are a little crazy. So I'll allow the Wings comparisons. They're not the same.
They were so fun to watch.
Potential.
Yeah,
they've got potential.
These guys are way more unknown. Because Wings had won some stuff. They were looking a little shaky before TI. Not necessarily shaky, but I wasn't expecting them to win.
Not 100%.
But they were good.
They still looked like they had some room for improvement. Still some overextensions. You know,
Right, well,
Wings at their peak were on another level in terms of crisp execution.
That's
you know?
insane, dude. They had crazy flexibility. But what do you guys think about? I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna try and set the standards low for all the NA Dota fans. What about EG? You know,
Always potential. I don't know. I guess it feels disingenuous to call them a dark horse, but
I put them in my compendium for something, and it made me laugh. I'm gonna have to look it up as to what I had put them in for. I'm starting to do my predictions.
I have to pull up
teams.
their recent history, but I mean, I can't think of a single time I've been like, oh yeah, that's the EG that we should be seeing right now. It's just like,
Yeah. EG is always so. I got a group of friends that I introduced to Dota, and before Dota, they only played Call of Duty and FIFA. So this is like the guys you wouldn't expect to be playing Dota, but they're sucked in now. They are suckling off the teat of gaming because they're spending the thousands of pounds and dollars off on these battle passes every year. And
so I just got caught here, guys. They got first at the summit. I did not watch any of the summit.
Yeah, but I mean, still, the teams that were there wasn't, it was basically Fnatic.
So Fnatic, I mean, VGJ Storm, your boys were there, and
that's true. But this tournament was not one that you can grasp a lot from, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's fair.
But still,
the point I was
looked
making.
Good.
I mean, they 3-0'd Fnatic in the finals. That's something. It's
EG is the team that is like they're all fans of EG.
But yeah,
mainly
they got
because of Artesian.
9th through 12th in the Super Major, 10th through 12th in ESL 1 Birmingham, 5th through 6th at the Major GESC Thailand, 7th through 8th at DAC 2018, and then they won the GESC Indonesia Minor. And yeah, the competition there was not too fierce. It's VGJ Thunder who got second, then Navi, Infamous, Fnatic, Final Tribe, Digital Chaos, Rex, Regum, Kiom. So yeah,
I put EG as the team with the highest game average in my compendium because my prediction for them is that they will do worse than Fnatic at TI, but they similarly kind of drag those games out, So that was I guess I rate them below Fnatic, but they're kind of a Fnatic-esque play style. So I could see them doing like top 8 for sure. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I guess I can't disagree with that.
Maybe not top 8. I gotta look at the teams here.
It's tough, dude. This is a tough TI to call. It truly is one of the more competitive. You look at that list, and
I'm gonna go through order here.
Do you think a Chinese team is gonna take it, as is tradition?
Definitely possible.
LGD could. Serenity could.
Yeah.
I think VG is okay. The original VG. I don't think VGJ Thunder will do much. Maybe they'll surprise us. But
I am so ignorant of these
Newbie
teams.
could also do quite well. Their lineup was looking.
That would be incredible if Newbie did something. Because they fell off. Like, they literally, it looks like they haven't won anything in like 9 months, it feels like. I mean, no, I know it's not actually how long, but the last time you remember Newbie being good was like October.
Right. So here's my top 8, though, basically above EG, sort of in order, but you've got LGD, VP, Liquid, Secret, Vici, Newbie. That's 6 right there. And then I think Mineski is pretty fucking competitive. I think they're probably better than EG.
Really?
You don't think so?
Actually, yeah. I'm looking at the squad now. Okay, so I'm completely ignorant. Like I said, I've been in the dark for the last 6 months, so I don't know any of these rosters. I'm looking through them now, and I'm just like only now picking out the teams I want to cheer for.
I think like OG and EG are maybe comparable. Maybe OG's looked better. We haven't seen them on the big scale. They rolled their way through the European qualifiers, but it was a pretty easy qualifier. And then like Serenity is my dark horse that I think could do pretty well. And then you've got Optic and VGJ Storm in there. Do you think EG is definitively better than both of those teams? I don't know. Definitively is a strong word, right?
Hell has happened to Dota? Why is resolution on this team?
Oh yeah,
what is going on?
A lot of cross-region stuff.
I'm looking at these rosters like, god damn, what the fuck? No, I found my teams that I'm supporting. I'm supporting LGD. They got FY God. I want to see some of that Rubik play coming out.
Man, Rubik, that's a dead hero. He might.
No, it's not. Don't tell me that.
No,
that
Rubik is so dead, dude. It's incredible. Somehow he managed to die, but he always has a chance because of no.
Yes, because of how you can just fit him in.
Yeah, exactly. Like the fact that he has damage amplification is very important. I know Swindlemelons, I'm sure we'll talk about that. Mr. Kyle at TI, he loves the idea of damage amplification. So
I gotta support OG
possible.
as well. They got Jurax. That guy used to be a TF2 player.
Even these like quote unquote bottom teams like TNC Predator, another team we didn't mention, still very competitive, could totally knock EG out in an elimination round. Who's the weakest team? That's Windstrike, I guess. The CIS team, Silent Iceberg, No Grata, No Fear, Always Wanna Fly, and Pain Gaming. But with Weehaw and Misery as a coach, I think Pain is actually sort of competitive. I wouldn't say they're going to get dead last. I think they'll show up to a couple games.
I think VGJ Thunder is the worst team at TI. That would be my personal opinion. They have not impressed me.
You might be right.
I would probably take Windstrike or Pain.
I haven't seen
over them.
IG very much, but the lineup should be good. Aggressive, XXS, Baboka. I feel like was that the team we didn't see much in the group stage that we cast Trent in the qualifier?
Which team, sorry?
Invictus, IG.
Yeah, we watched them. They were the ones who kept doing like undying deathball strats.
Yeah.
So they lost the first final versus Serenity, and then won the second final versus someone.
I think Windstrike and VGJ Thunder are kind of runner-ups for the bottom teams. I haven't really seen Windstrike play that much, but I don't know. I guess Iceberg's pretty decent.
Yeah, I went back and watched some of the final. Oh, it was LFY they beat in the final. That's what it was. I went back and watched some of the Windstrike games. It was interesting. I don't think they had the best competition in the final for CIS. It looked pretty one-sided in their favor, but it wasn't like incredible Dota or anything. But I'm looking forward to seeing them at TI. The group stage, it's whole new Dota. To me, the more exciting thing, honestly, than talking about teams is what heroes we're going to see. Like, what is this meta going to be?
Dual lanes, baby!
That seems to be secured. I don't imagine we're going to have much of a shift out of that. I'm looking forward to... I think most people are predicting a lot of Phoenix, a lot of Enchantress bans. I think most banned hero Enchantress is a pretty safe prediction for you guys out there.
What's the mid lane running these days?
Tends to be like kind of a one, like almost like someone who can try and carry the game for you. Like a Templar Assassin would be a very common... She like really fits that archetype of just like, all right, who's going to win this game for us, guys?
Yeah.
Templar Assassin, pick her up. Let's go.
I heard Necro's making a resurgence.
Yes, Necro's very strong.
Coming back.
A disgusting hero.
I know. I don't know. Is Spectre still big on the pro scene?
I think she'll definitely still be showing
tearing up pubs. Like that Spectre Warlock kind of dual lane is still pretty strong.
Okay.
It feels like carries are relatively good right now. Like from a pub meta, as just like how the game feels, it seems like strong off lanes. That's kind of the whole idea behind the dual lane, is you put a lot of pressure on the safe lane and force supports away from the mid.
Pugna is another big one, as people are pointing out in chat. There's a lot of great suggestions in chat right now. Shadow Demon, I agree, will be at TI a lot. I'm personally predicting...
We'll see some CM.
I think she's going to be banned a lot still in the first phase. I do think she's still too strong.
She was a big pick, wasn't she? I know Pudge had a hard on for Crystal Maiden.
Yeah, Pudge is still in there. He's going to be picked quite a bit still.
I meant to say Purge there, not Pudge.
Oh, Purge.
I fucked up.
Pudge.
I did say Pudge. I fucked up.
He plays Dota as Pudge, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's like his pseudonym.
That's why it confused me. I always see him on Steam grinding out. But I want to talk about a little bit. I'm gonna diverge this for 1 second.
Please do.
Take it.
I want to talk about the bot TI, or not the bot TI. The
OpenAI.
What is it? OpenAI. That's it. Yeah, that was the bot TI was a different thing. OpenAI. Have you seen some of the shit that the bots were doing? These innovative strategies, right? Placing
I have
sentries
not
down
really.
to tower dive.
I heard about that.
Because it takes 8 hits so they can tower dive. Do you feel like we're gonna start to see the future of TI, the future of Dota being elevated now because of these bots?
I don't think so. I mean, if someone puts a sentry down to save a catapult because they don't have a salve or something, that's pretty legit, but seems very unlikely. Look at that.
I can't think of anything else that we saw that was pretty innovative. I did see a post on Reddit that they were suggesting essentially because the meta in that was like death ball, who could death ball the fastest for the bots, because they were abusing the invulnerable couriers for the regen, that they were using smokes not to gank but for the move speed bonus, so that they could get to other lanes faster, or they could get from point A to point B faster. So a couple of times they were they were messing up the smokes and like they were being called out on it. There was other times as well they were leaving people on 1 HP. Like they could have killed somebody and they just left them.
I saw a couple
I wonder
posts
if that
about
was
that.
intentional.
To be honest, that's something I've actually always thought about. I don't know. It kind of looked like they just couldn't get the kill. I think they were trying to get kills, but it definitely has crossed my mind several times lately watching all these games. Like, is it worse to be at low HP?
Yeah.
Like,
You have to run all the way back.
it depends on the hero, I think. I think if it's a support, it's not. I think you want to kill the support. But if it's like a Spectre and you can drop them down to 10% HP, that's pretty bad. Like, you have to walk all the way home. You're missing tons of experience. It is almost better to leave someone like a Spectre, but I don't think you'd ever want to do that in a real game because you don't know if there's like a salve somewhere. And,
It's more wasted time, but when they die, they lose unreliable gold. So unless they're like doing some sort of calculation of like they can spend their unreliable, so they're not going to lose gold anyway. I think if you're not going to lose any gold somehow, then it's better to leave them alive. But even if you try to min-max the the unreliable thing, it's not perfect.
Yeah, in lane though, it definitely matters. Like you don't have a lot of death costs at the beginning of the game anyway, though. Like you don't lose that much gold.
That's
even
true.
if you have a lot of unreliable.
That is true.
But yeah, it's curious. I don't know.
I was just watching the video back now. I actually didn't watch it live, but I guess I read a few articles about it. It seems pretty interesting.
One way to look at it is if you think about those like 1v1 matchups mid, where like we've seen a couple players now. I think Sumail was the most. I think it was like clipped or something put on Reddit, but it's like this idea of just like if you're 1v1 in the mid lane and you kill the other mid laner and you have 10% HP and 10% mana, suicide into the tower before they come back to the lane, right? Mm-hmm. Don't let them get any experience or any of your gold. You also just want to die because you need that full HP and that mana, and you try and buy out to get rid of your unreliable gold. So maybe that kind of applies in the situation, right?
Yeah.
Of just like maybe it is better to just leave them at low HP, but. We're too bloodthirsty as humans. That is our weakness. We need the kill. The bots, they can let them live.
Dive in.
That's what's so fascinating about it, though, because Dota is inherently an emotional game, like most sports are. Like think about golf. It's really more about focus and concentration. Dota is like that, and like tilt is a big factor. And a lot of the teams that are able to win on the big stage, it's because they have so much experience and they're. That pressure feels different compared to somebody that's new blood. But yeah, I remember even early interviews with Sumail, him saying things, like, I just want to cripple them. I want to kill them so that they're out of the game and they can't do anything. Like that mentality is very human compared to how the bots play, where it's like, yeah, we don't care. It's, it just makes more sense to leave him alive and make him walk back. Period.
I was actually away during the game, so I got home just in time to see them win the game. But I haven't seen the games where they got destroyed by the two bots first.
Yeah, the game they won, they had to get help from Twitch chat, right, to pick the heroes. So they had to.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, they had to pick. They got Twitch chat and the audience to pick the heroes, so they just picked them like a core lineup of like melee cores and Queen of Pain support or whatever. It's very weird. So the bots were immediately, and from the get-go, the game opened up, and they had a 2.9% chance of winning with that lineup. That's what the bots predicted for themselves. And then it went up to 20% at one point because Capitalist was feeding his brains out. But yeah, other than that, it was interesting because I don't know. I feel like they were getting close as well. The first two matches they were playing against the bots when the bots were picking reasonable lineups. And every game that was being played, they were getting closer and closer to victory.
Right.
But the fact that the audience picked them essentially just gave them a win. I would have been happy to see a game where the bots had like a 20% chance to win at the start, because that would have been more interesting than a 2.9. Because 2.9 was just like from the get-go. They tried to bring it back, but it didn't really work. And then
the Slark I saw was doing some very strange things. It did not give me a lot of hope. He was just like jumping into the trees and not TPing home and stuff.
Yes, that was very odd actually. And they were playing. I feel like the bot had learnt a play style, the most efficient play style on how to win with the other heroes. And when it ran this 5-core lineup and they were behind, they were still trying to run the same strategy. They were still getting regen delivered to their lane, even when they were behind, and they should have been saving gold for the big team fight changing items, which they weren't doing. They weren't adapting their strategy. They'd learnt that that wasn't the most efficient way to win. So there's still a long ways to go for it. I think it highlighted some weaknesses of it.
Well, the other aspect too is how limited the hero pool is overall. So you can only take away from that strategy as much as it's 20% of the total heroes in Dota. So that strategy they're playing might be the most effective within that little meta of the heroes that are accessible. And I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm sure there are some that are easier to counter than others that you don't have access to. So. Yeah, absolutely. This is still a somewhat isolated, contained little experiment. But when we first heard about it, there are no invis items, and there were all no smokes, and also no wards, all sorts of other parameters. And they've lifted a lot of that to make it at least feel like a miniature version of Dota, not some bastardized version where you can't use half the mechanics.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast they have advanced, though. Oh, I guess it'll be interesting to see next year, or see when they actually play a full pro team how they do.
180 years of learning every day.
Oh, wow. That's pretty incredible.
It's like a real-life episode of Black Mirror. It really is. Just trapped in that weird hyper time loop thing, just to torture those AI recreations of human brains. That's what we're doing.
I'm convinced that, I don't know if you guys know much about artificial intelligence or machine learning. Are you guys well read on it?
I mean, I dabble. I've read a few blogs.
I am super ignorant, and I love to talk about it, so I'm going to talk about it now. But I have a theory, or not a theory. This is my idea of what's going to happen within our lifetimes. Within our lifetimes here, that essentially artificial intelligence is going to develop so far that the only real jobs are going to be sort of maintaining machines and entertainment. Things that robots can't do. So again, esports is a big example of this as well. Because people.
So what you're saying is you're going to be okay. That's what I'm hearing.
We're going to be all right. Okay.
You're like these people that predicted the world is going to end, but somehow their hometown is always the safe spot. It's like, yes, there's going to be a massive flood, and although it makes no sense, and I live at the bottom of this well, but this place will be safe.
It's going to be artificial intelligence is going to develop so rapidly that it's going to transform our way of thinking about society, right? And where eventually the idea is you have a universal basic income, okay? Yeah. And I see people in the chat telling you to mute me. Don't mute me. Hear me out, okay? Let's keep this ball rolling. Okay, I want to keep the brain cells running here, okay? So eventually, artificial intelligence is going to develop enough that it makes decisions with our social and political lives, right? Now, a friend of mine, Sideshow, the guy I work with on the desk in the Overwatch League, has argued that I'm a fucking idiot. And it's never going to get that point because people are never going to trust machines. But I feel like, we do it, we go
Don't you trust your car's GPS?
Trust the machine, dude.
So you're half right and half wrong. So when you say AI, right, that word encompasses a broad spectrum of things. And there's really 3 levels. The kind of AI we use right now is I forget the proper terminology, but it's non-intelligent AI, basically. So it's like your GPS, where it kind of does stuff for you, but it requires your input. It can only do one specific task. The next step is what you would call the singularity, and that's where the machine becomes self-aware. It's like Terminator. It's and that's what becomes scary because it's unprecedented, and some people sort of think it's impossible. Some people think not really. We can get pretty close to downloading the info from a brain and then putting it on an automaton thing, and it can respond in real time, and it kind of feels like it's real, but it's not. It's just a really complicated set of nested if-then statements, and it has the illusion of AI, but it's not actually self-aware, right? But once it becomes self-aware, that's where you move into the next phase. Then after that, it's when that AI is able to learn. So when an AI is able to teach itself, that's when it gets fucking scary, and that's when that AI overlord type kind of doomsday stuff becomes. That's what you're talking about towards the end, where they're influencing political stuff because
hell yeah,
it can learn at the same rate that those guys are learning Dota, right? So it can just learn about anything, and that includes human interaction and how to lie and how to manipulate and how to read our emotions and how to create better replicas that can fool humans and stuff like that. All of that is encompassed within that super learning. So that gets scary, and that's why there's a coalition with Elon Musk and I don't know if Zuckerberg's a bunch of those other rich tech fucking genius guys, And it's a coalition to develop AI in an open way together. That's why it's called openAI, right? Because they don't want it to be split. What's scary is if two different parties, let's say Russia and the United States, both develop AI, if Russia gets the singularity before we do and they develop computers that can learn, their AI just becomes infinitely smarter than our AI because it accelerates faster. You know, it's whoever starts first learns more, and the more you learn, the faster you can learn. So it spreads, so to speak. So
I know we've gone very deep here. Can I bring it back a little closer to something that I've always considered?
Get video games out of here, Trent. We're talking about artificial intelligence.
No, it's not video games.
Singularities.
This is something that I've always thought is like, before we get crazy into AI, this whole idea of like trusting machines more, trusting computers more. I don't think my grandkids will be able to drive. I feel like that's the first big thing that's gonna go is the idea of like,
I don't know how to drive, and I'm not planning on driving really.
Absolutely.
Well, there you go.
Self-driving cars are totally coming.
I feel like the idea of like, I feel like our grandkids are gonna look back and be like, so these people just drove around, and all that was separating them at 120 kilometers an hour was a line of paint. And you just hope the other person was paying attention. Like, doesn't that seem kind of crazy?
I
almost
got ran over.
That?
I almost got killed the other day.
I saw it.
By some dude. Yeah.
I was
crossing the road, and so it was red lights, and some dude 40 miles an hour just speeding missed me by like 4 foot. I was like, Jesus, I almost died. And then I carried on with my life, and I was like, well, it's got to happen someday.
But to me, I feel like that's so crazy. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, I love driving. At least I think I do. Maybe I don't. Maybe if there was a car that was just doing like a nap the whole time, I'd be a lot happier.
So, Trent, along that line of logic, right? Think about if we had completely automated driving, no more humans driving around. Cities would have so much more space because you wouldn't have all of these cars parked all over the place because you could min-max it well enough that most cars are just always moving around, picking people up and driving people around.
Wait,
or
you think
in storage
that you wouldn't have No, people would have their own cars though.
No, at some point that would go away, right? Let's say how many hundreds of years in the future. Eventually, it'll be so automated that humans driving you'll be like Will Smith in that stupid iRobot movie where he's driving the motorcycle and he's taking it off automatic and everyone thinks he's crazy. You know, that'll eventually happen. And at that point, you won't have all these parked cars everywhere. It's just
it'd be nice.
Always transit.
I think roads take up like 25 or 30% of a city or something like that. Yeah. And parking lots, it's insane. But yeah, I don't know.
Can't wait.
I'd have a hard time giving control over to a car, but I bet it'd be the greatest thing ever.
Well,
just being taken everywhere. You can just game the whole time, have the PC in your car.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. If I leave the country for 2 weeks and we're just being driven around by buses or Ubering, and then I come home, it feels good to drive my car. It's a control thing, I think, is what, like, we're used to having that. That's why my parents always rent a car. I tell them just to Uber when they travel. Like, we like the control. We like being able to just leave whenever we want, as if you can't just call an Uber whenever you want. But, you know. Is Uber still, by the way, that reminds me, is Uber still doing stuff with Overwatch? I remember when they announced Overwatch at PAX East in whatever it was, like 2016, they had a big partnership where there were Overwatch-themed Uber cars
I have no idea,
driving around Boston. And if you called an Uber, there was a chance you got picked up by like Tracer driving one of those three-wheel motorcycle things. Hell yeah, dude.
I don't know about that, but we get the sponsors have been rolling in. I've been super impressed with that as well, because I mean, it could have stagnated. You know, League of Legends, they've got like one sponsor and it's some fucking insurance company, and it conflicts with their team sponsors. But with us, it seems like we get a new sponsor every week. It's weird.
So you guys aren't asking for 20 million from just the viewers.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, it's the franchise. You know, it's all about the franchise. But
there you go. There's an article about it. Uber Watch ride with Overwatch heroes.
No way.
That's pretty cool.
April 2016.
Holy hell! Look at this.
They had like I guess that's Diva, not Tracer.
Was this when this is when the game was released?
Yeah. This was like part of the launch event. So it was at PAX East. I didn't see the truck. I didn't realize they had a Soldier 76 truck. But I saw the Diva thing and I saw the Tracer Lamborghini.
That's super sick. A Tracer Lamborghini. Can you imagine being picked up in a Lambo?
Yeah, just ordering your Uber.
Yeah. Can you take me to my Airbnb? Actually, wait.
My God.
Can we just go somewhere else, please? I'll keep paying.
You're just paying to fly yourself around.
It was one of the greatest activations I've ever seen, though, because PAX is one of those events that it feels like you're at Warped Tour. You know, you're shoulder to shoulder with people. There's booths everywhere. All of these massive companies are just throwing money and giveaways left and right. And you can't do all of it. It's this giant race to stand out. And Blizzard just nailed it, because how could you not go, holy shit, that's a Tracer Lamborghini? You know, it makes you stop and go, damn, that's pretty badass. They partnered up with Uber. I was just about to call an Uber. How about that? Wow. You know, it was just, I don't know how much they paid for that, but I'm sure it was worth it. Absolutely.
That's good that we've gotten back to Overwatch, because I wanted to say that in terms of like why I think Overwatch in general was so successful was that, to me, the production was just like absolute god tier.
It's insane.
Oh yeah.
Like when the Overwatch League started, I will say the spectating is much better now. Like watching the game and stuff is way smoother. But I remember over the first couple of weeks, I would tune in maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I'd watch for like an hour. Usually I was like washing the dishes or something. I'd watch the Overwatch League, so I want to see how the shit was going.
Yep.
And when the game started, I just completely zoned out. It was like I didn't really care that much. But my God, in between the games, I was enthralled. I watched every panel segment I was watching, like production here to there, the shots, the stage, incredible. Like
it's insane what they done with it.
It was so good,
and that's why it was so weird, because I came from like I said, the bedroom casting to this, and it's like you walk into the fucking International Space Station in the back. They got like panels everywhere, like production going out the wazoo.
I mean, I think that is undoubtedly a key piece to the success, because not only does it instill confidence in the fans of like, hey, this is real, this is legit, this is worth putting my fan energy into, because it has I don't want to say the illusion, but it does create that illusion of stability even when the league is really new and doesn't have a history. But I think it's also important to keep those big money financial guys happy that just spent double digits in the millions to get into this league. At least they have a product that is beautiful, that they can show to their investors, show to their portfolio that this looks incredible. So even if this is still budding, it's not quite there yet, we're on to something good, and you've got this great pristine product. And I'm glad they nailed that aspect of it, because that feels like if they didn't do that, the rest of it would have kind of crumbled. That was the key foundation they needed to start this thing.
Yeah, it's mental, honestly, to look at like the whole level of it. And we took that approach and carried it all the way through in terms of like the storytelling and the production of it. And there's a big disconnect these days between what I like to think of new esports and old esports. So like old esports is like, I love Dota because it's in its own bubble, and I hope it never changes, and I hope it's always going to stay what I would consider old esports. So like you have like these like long panels where you're talking about everything for like super in depth. Fuck the new players, we don't care about them. We care about the statistics, and I want to know exactly what the percentiles are of this Nahaz, and that's what I want. And I don't care otherwise. But then there's new esports where the approach you take is it's super streamlined. We keep the segments incredibly short because people have ridiculously low attention spans, and they've done studies on this, and they know for a fact that this is the formula that works in traditional sports. So they tried to carry it over into the Overwatch League. And that's the one thing we were having a lot of production meetings with the guy who is the producer for Fox Sports. So, and he was telling us all sorts of stuff on what we can do to make it flow better and improve it as it went along. So, yeah. And I also saw as well, I need to address this, some guy in the chat was like, Long Bottom Leaf saying, Overwatch was so bad to watch because they only showed a one player's first person view. How the hell is the audience supposed to be engaged when they only get one perspective? Now, when we were on ESPN 1 and 2, they changed up the spectating style kind of to a more third person to try and make it easier to spectate. And loads of people complained. Like essentially all of the people who regularly watched it complained because you can't see the skill from an individual level. Like the part of the enjoyment is like seeing the Widowmaker, which is a sniper hero, seeing the raw mechanical aim of the player just popping off, just hitting heads, just clutching. And you really kind of miss that towards the end. So.
I found, especially at the beginning of the league, though, at least for me, it felt like they were pretty hard locked on like one person a lot of the time. Like I didn't find they were doing a very good job.
Improved a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's much better now. So I think if you're referring to like the starting from the Long Bottom Leaf guy, I definitely agree. I think they had some problems, but
yeah, I think that it's weird because I think there's a little bit of a middle ground. You think of Counter-Strike, and that is like as pure of an FPS as it gets for the most part. You know, no matter what gun you're using, third person just doesn't really tell much of the story at all. Even the strategy, there isn't any perspective to it. It's just, you know, you're at the bomb and you're just kind of sitting there and you need to be protected. Overwatch does still have a degree of like positioning and objective taking. That picture is still important. I'm sort of in that middle ground of I can watch it, but I still find it difficult to watch. And I know third person really sucks for those kind of games, but at the same time, I find myself wanting to know a little bit of like, well, okay, but where is the team?
It gives a good context.
You know? Yeah, I need that context. And I don't know if it's some sort of mini map. I don't know if it's, you know, sometimes I wish like Diablo 2 style, I could just toggle the mini map on and off, you know, and just see, okay, here's the spread of the battlefield. Let's turn it back off. You know, I still think there's a middle ground there that they might be able to find to just make it extra watchable, because it does.
We have a mini map in at least on the desk, and they use it sometimes in the broadcast, and it's super sick, but it only works on certain maps because it's still pretty new.
Now I don't want to make it sound like Counter-Strike doesn't have strategy, but it's just compared to Overwatch, you don't have people with fucking grenade launchers and stuff in Counter-Strike. You know, positioning is important, but you really want to see people's perspectives and you want to see what they see and things like that. Overwatch, I don't care about that info as much. You know, we kind of know where they are. It's more about can you hit them and shit.
Like you said, it's that perfect context. So CS:GO, you're always going to watch it from first person, with the exception of when people are setting up. Like the strategy of CS:GO comes from the setups with the utility in terms of smoke engages, like flash engages, various things with that. And with Overwatch, I feel like we're still, because it's such a new game and it's hard to spectate still, it's for a new player that you can't really grasp where the strategy lies, but it all comes down to essentially ultimate economy. So like using your ultimates in the most efficient way possible, using your abilities in the most efficient way possible, similar to Dota in that regard. But that's like every game has a resource, right? You know, like CS:GO, it's the money. Dota, it's the gold. But in Overwatch, it's the ultimates. It's the cooldowns. That's what it uses as a resource, and that's what you need to measure it by.
I will say that has been the hardest part for me about watching Overwatch and trying to get into it, is that I find the time in between, like, let's say it's in between team fights in Dota, I kind of like, maybe this would change if I knew more about Overwatch and everything, and that might be true, but like in Dota, I know how to talk about, like, I know that this guy's looking for this item because he needs the gold to purchase it, and so he's over here doing this, and like I find there's still things that happen, like there's a lot of ganks, there's a lot of like smaller skirmish things. But when I watch Overwatch League, there always tends to be this issue of like, all right, both teams are waiting for their ultimates, and there's gonna be this big battle, and then we're gonna have like this wait thing again. And sometimes it feels like that first big battle happens, and it's such a big ball of momentum that the map's just over. Is that like a realistic thing, or did I just like the wrong games?
That happens when teams are terrible and they don't know when to properly reset, or if a team is just overwhelmingly dominant. So like the thing that's always going to be more powerful than an ultimate and more useful than an ultimate is a kill. And so that's the reason why we're seeing a lot more double sniper, Widowmaker, and Hanzo, the two one-shot heroes. And alongside them, we're also seeing Roadhog, who can also hook and one-shot people. So it's a lot of one-shot heroes, because kills are always going to be more valuable than getting these ultimates and using them, because it's just instant. You can change the tide of the fight just like that. And so you're completely right. And it's... If they don't set up the defense well enough, then they are going to get rolled, because that's what it is. It's resetting. If as soon as you lose a team fight, you need to reset, regroup as 6, defend at the next point, whether that's back or forwards or whatever. So, yeah, sometimes teams get snowballed.
If you have your ultimate ready currently in Overwatch and you die, you still just have it ready, right?
Yep,
if you never try to use it, you can just come back and use it.
Right.
One thing that I've always thought, at least personally, when I was trying to think of ways that I would personally find it more enjoyable, was I wondered if there was like some sort of a penalty for dying. Like if you got picked off, maybe dying is a penalty enough, but to me it kind of felt like they still couldn't push with like a one hero advantage, that if there was some penalty, like if you lost like 25%, even if it was just in the pro matches or something. Because
I think they don't want to change the base game away from what people see on the Overwatch League too much, because that would be.
I think we had that discussion last time I talked to someone about that, which makes sense.
Yeah,
I can agree with that.
I agree that I feel like that would be an interesting twist, because that's what we had in TF2, Team Fortress 2, with the closest thing we got to it was the medic with the Uber charge. The whole game at competitive TF2 revolved around the Uber charge as the medic, and as soon as the medic died, they lost the Uber. And they added items. Valve added items into the game without any regard to the competitive scene that allowed you to keep some of your Uber charge and completely changed up the way the game was balanced around it. Yeah. And people lost their fucking minds. Like, immediately the weapon got banned. Like, they were not having it at all because it messed with the entire feel and flow of the game. Because the game has always revolved around the Uber charge. And if you pick the medic, you have an Uber charge advantage, and it's measuring that in your mind. And in Overwatch, you do have to do that, but you have to do it based off an internal clock in your head. It's actually kind of more complicated because when people die, they're not charging their ultimates, but you got to keep a rough count of when they should have their ultimates. So you know that certain ultimates charge slower than others. So they're most likely always going to have Hanzo's ultimate, the Dragon Strike, a giant fucking dragon that just gets launched at you. They're always going to have that pretty much because it builds so fast. But the Graviton Surge, which is Black Hole essentially, and against Black Hole, they're gonna have that like once every 3 fights. So yeah, it's it actually, you have to keep track instead of just one, the medic, in TF2. Now in Overwatch, you have to keep track of 6 heroes, and that's like it's much harder.
Yeah. Speaking of keeping track, that is the other problem I guess I have with Overwatch is that this idea, like to me when I watch TF2, the fastest moving thing honestly is basically a rocket jumping soldier, maybe a demo man, but even that's not that bad to watch, and scout. Whereas in Overwatch League, it gets pretty crazy with like the very high mobility across a lot of the characters.
Dude. Yeah.
It's very chaotic.
I won't lie, it's hard to spectate. It really is, but what game isn't these days, you know? It's
true.
For someone who's new to Dota and League of Legends, I try and watch League of Legends, and I've got a background in Dota, and I'm like,
I know,
what
I can't
the fuck
understand
is
it
going
at all.
on?
I have
it's
no
like,
idea.
Jesus Lord, it's like flashing lights. I don't understand this. What is happening?
And the reason for that is because we don't have context as to like what this character can do.
Yes,
like when I look at Tiny, I know how you need to play around Tiny because I understand what his initiation range is and what his damage burst potential is. And I try and watch League, and I'm just like, that person has a bow. I bet they can shoot from far away. And that's like all I know. You know.
But I look at League of Legends, and they got a sword, and they're shooting range bows at people. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. The visual design in League is fucking atrocious. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
They have, like, small abilities that look humongous and large abilities that look tiny. League is really shit the bed in that regard. Dota has gotten better. Have they? I don't know.
I think so. Most of the ultimates look like ultimates, I think.
Yes, yeah, they do.
We're biased, you know. It's whatever you've seen more.
We're biased.
We are.
So, all right, guys, I want to pivot a little bit here. So we're gonna do a new thing. All right, a bunch of people in the Zyori Discord were asking if we could start taking viewer submitted questions. I've got a couple here. We'll buzz through. Some of them I think are pretty easy. But we'll kind of do this and start wrapping her up here. So first one from K-Ad, will you be at TI8? If you are, will you be walking around and meeting fans? Because I'd love to meet you. I'm a huge fan of you and all the Moonduckers. Yes. Well, I'll be there. I'll be walking around.
What a self-plugging question
this
was.
I didn't screen any of them, dude. I'm just reading down. Okay, someone says, what's the future of Moonduck look like? Okay, well, that's a good question. Lots of irons in the fire, I guess you could say. We're probably not going to be doing a DPC event this next season, so no Captain's Draft minor, but still looking at our options in terms of trying to do like a Midas mode or elimination mode, and, per usual, just trying to find a spot in the calendar. Now that we have the calendar, it's helpful, but you can't really lock much down until you get closer to post-TI because we don't even know which teams will exist after TI. So, but we're working on stuff. We're definitely continuing to do Dota, and I guess now that we have some dates around Artifact, I guess it's no real secret that we're probably going to do a little bit of stuff with Artifact. Right?
What do you think about Artifact? We didn't talk about Artifact. What do you think about it?
It seems pretty cool. I think now there's like a little bit more of a tangible light at the end of the tunnel. It's easier to be excited about. When you hear those early announcements, you always think, oh yeah, that looks cool, but when is it actually going to be playable? When can I get my hands on it and start making content and grinding the ladder and whatever? So it's cool that it looks like this one won't really be on Valve time and it'll just come out on like a normal schedule. I think what's the date? November 28th?
20-something, yeah.
They're like pretty much the last day of November. So yeah, right in time for the Christmas season. Got a couple months, and then right after TI, you can start looking forward to playing some Dota 2 card games. I think I was shocked at how popular Hearthstone was from a competitive aspect, and I thought that game really was not designed to be ultra competitive with the RNG elements and adding more crazy RNG elements, and developers kind of saying like, yeah, that's what makes the game fun. It's like, I don't know. For some people maybe, but not necessarily from a competitive format. And I think Artifact, obviously every card game has to have a degree of randomness with top decking and that kind of stuff, but it sounds cool. I think the information we have, it seems like a pretty innovative type card game. I don't have a
I don't like that
history.
they're charging $20 for it.
Well, I guess you got to see how it's set up. I guess it is different. Yeah. That I guess are all other card games free to play? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Is that the?
Pretty much.
I've been playing Magic the Gathering Arena, and like that's fully set up to be like competitive, right? That's super deep in depth, but even that's free to play. So I don't know. Whatever Valve have got up their sleeves, it seems silly to me, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe they just know people will pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always feel like $20 that's whatever. It's not that much money.
To a lot of people, they're like, well, Hearthstone.
I just think of it the amount of hours I'll get out of it. $20 still seems like a value play. Yeah, I'll probably spend $20 on it regardless, whether it's that out of the gate or if it's microtransactions or buying card packs or whatever it is. Okay, next question. So what do you think the most important parts of a small, around 200 person capacity local Dota LAN is? Would you attempt to make it to a regular event and break even? I don't know. 50-50. We've talked about trying to do events like that before because we're centralized in the Denver kind of Boulder area around Slacks. The problem is just getting everybody together and on the same page at the same place in the same time in a venue and marketing it and making it interesting. I guess it is easy to just find a place, fun. Put up a sign, but how do you... if it's a Dota LAN, where the computers come from, where's the internet come from, where's the power come from, is everybody bringing laptops, where's all the space, you need a lot of space to set up a lot of 200 computers, so to speak. If it's, it really depends on what you mean by LAN. If you're talking about flying in teams, it's pretty expensive, and 200 people isn't really enough to cover the cost of like a venue that size if you're talking about 200 person audience. So that's like a weird size that is not particularly profitable. A lot of LANs are no audience or massive audience. Doing that like couple hundred people is an odd spot.
We'll figure it out. We'll get you.
Figure it out. Okay, Trent, this is a great one. What are your favorite kinds of cheeses, and what do you like to eat it with?
Really? This is where we're at right now?
Yeah, what's
I have
your
a
favorite
baby.
cheese, dude?
I have a child that's getting up from a nap. I don't have time for cheese questions. My favorite kind of cheese? Very like a really like old cheddar kind of deal. Just classic, very tasteful, good old ched. That's the way
I'm a
to
big
go
fan
for me.
of multiple cheeses, actually. The U.S. doesn't do cheese well. Wisconsin does, but not the rest of the U.S., I feel. But
I can't say I'm very into that southern U.S. cheese.
The U.K. cheese, though, that is my jam. So I found a lot of the U.K. cheeses in Colorado, and since then I haven't been able to find any in L.A. Maybe I'm just not looking in the right places. But we get some nice cheddars going on up in the Cotswolds, where I'm from. Or down in the Cotswolds, I should say, because we're on the southern side of the country. But red Leicester I like blue cheese. I like any cheese. Get it inside of me, honestly. I fucking love dairy.
I'm not very picky.
I'm not a picky guy.
I'm a brie guy. All about the brie. I like a nice soft brie with a little kick to it. Favorite combinations: a nice summer sausage is always good. Sometimes some grapes mixed in there. A nice white wine, maybe a little spritzer.
Oof.
Now we're really talking.
You're cooking on gas.
We need to next time we're in the same place, Bren. We need to do like a classy esports affair and do.
I'm coming to Colorado.
Do soon. Some hors d'oeuvres. Do some sort of viewing party, dude.
Yeah.
Do an IRL classy stream.
Hell yeah.
Now
down.
we're talking. I'm in. That should be our Artifact launch party. We'll just have cheese and.
When does Artifact come out?
Upscale, a Pinky's Out party, as they say.
Yes.
Very
November.
good. All right, well, thanks for those great questions there, Zyori Discorders. That was a lot of fun. So, any other thoughts? I think Artifact was the only other thing that I wanted to talk about, but, still only so much we can say.
I'm in Denver when Artifact is released.
Say again?
I'm in Denver when Artifact is released.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
Well,
that's a coincidence.
Sounds perfect.
Wowzers.
Yeah. So, no, I saw a question written in there. Am I allowed to cast other games outside of Overwatch? Yes, I am.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah. There you go. I mean,
Perfect.
I'm done. I mean, I don't want to.
There you go.
We've talked about lots of it. That's me. Piece.
Dude, this was solid. But again, congrats on the, I guess not just you, but to everyone on a successful Overwatch League Season 1. I guess everyone now, the bar is raised for Season 2. See how they spice things up, continue to make the league exciting. But it bodes well, man. I guess hopefully you get invited back for Season 2. That's not locked in yet, right? That's
No,
still,
it's not. No.
Not sure. Feeling confident, I bet.
Yeah. I'm pretty confident. You know, I feel like I'm not terrible at my job, so hopefully.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah,
Very
you
good.
seem to fit in pretty well.
Yeah.
I appreciated you on the desk every time.
Thank you, Trey.
It was
I
great.
appreciate that.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
I
Yeah.
appreciate
Dude,
it.
I appreciate your Instagram. You've surpassed me in followers now. Ever since that RV trip, I've been like, dude, this guy's slaying it. He's got Instagram down.
Well, I've run out of material now. You know, it's the off season. I'm like, I need stuff to do. Fuck, I gotta give the impression that I've got a busy life.
Have you been to Disney World yet?
I haven't. No,
Dude, there you go.
The next trip, got it.
There you are.
Locked it in.
So
Hell
Trent, this is probably the last podcast before TI, I think. I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah.
So I doubt we'll squish one in. So
I highly doubt it.
see you in Vancouver, buddy. Good luck.
Yeah.
Don't
Thank
fuck
you.
it up.
Will do.
Yeah, well done, Trent. I'm very
Thank
pleased
you.
to see that you're on the list. I'm going to be
Yeah.
watching with, well, not pride because I did nothing for you to get to TI.
You can have
but
pride. It's okay.
I can
Yeah.
I can feel some sort of emotion while I'm sitting
were
on my
here.
sofa watching. I was there. I was there at the beginning of Trent's reign.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go.
So, and again, I will be there. I'll be on the ground like usual, pretty visible. If you see me in a Moonduck shirt or a jacket, come over and say hi. I'll have some swag to give away. I'm going to be making a little bit of content, probably for Betway, actually, doing some interviews. And then we're going to do some Moonduck IRL. That'll be pretty exciting. We'll see who we can insult this year and make an international debacle out of it. It's going to be a whole lot of
Perfect.
fun. Hopefully you'll join us right here back on the Moonduck stream. Of course, this podcast is on the Moonduck YouTube, youtube.com/moonducktv, and the audio only is at Zyori TV. Bren, thank you again for joining us here. It was a pleasure, my friend. Good luck going forward. Maybe we'll have you back again at the end of Season 2 for a follow-up. Huh?
Sounds good.
The conclusion of the Brennan Hook story.
Conclusion.
Until-
After I finally get fired.
Absolutely. Until next time, boys and girls, thanks for joining us. See you on the next podcast.